Hello and welcome to 2 versus 2 Rome 2 Total War. My Oddrysian Kingdom General is somewhere in this sea of veteran spear warriors. But that's his unit, so he's somewhere in there. And this was a bit of an interesting battle. I'm going to go ahead and put it in slow motion for you. And this was a Barbarian versus Barbarian battle. So we have the Boii, and I am the Oddrysian Kingdoms, and over here we have I'll look it up after. This is one of the Spanish ones, and over here we have the Suebi, of course. So my allies left his Oathsworn, his highly upgraded Oathsworn general, out in the middle of nowhere here. Interesting. So my force is 4 of these Thracian skirmishers, and their job in this battle is basically to eat Spanish sling fire. That's really all they're here for. Any damage they do would be gravy. So now I've got 2 lines of melee troops, 5 Thracian warriors, I think, and 6 Thracian nobles. And then they have a cavalry support of 4 Thracian royal cavalry, whose job it is basically to keep enemy cavalry off of my back while I'm engaging the enemy infantry. I don't have any spears, and that's because I know now that these Falk's troops have a bonus versus cavalry that isn't published in their stat list over here. That was something that was in the latest update. Alright, so my ally has taken a couple Oathsworn units, and then a whole bunch of veteran spears. 4 or 5 of them, I think, and he's going to try to hold this area. He's got actually a 3rd Oathsworn over there, which I already mentioned. He's going to try to hold this position while all of his cavalry is going to try to sweep around the side. And he's got a fairly ridiculous 9 units of these heavy horse. So now we'll have a bone to pick with him later about those heavy horse, but we'll get to that when it happens. So we can't see all of our opposing armies yet. We can see most of Suebi though, so we'll go through here unsurprisingly. And now this was, I believe, a 16,000 talent battle, so it's a fair-sized battle. So that's why you see all these elite units running around. So he has a whole giant line of sword masters, 6 of them, 5 of them. He's got also 4 noble riders, 5 noble riders. Sorry, his general's also a noble rider unit. He's a noble rider unit. And he's also got, I believe, 4 units of bows that are hidden at the moment because they can hide anywhere. And now we see most of the, whatever these guys are, the Arevaci maybe. So he's got a line of Scutari infantry and a couple more over there, and a couple noble fighters thrown in also. He also has 3 units of Balearic slingers and a couple units, maybe 3 or 4 units of noble cavalry. So we have a distinct cavalry advantage, however they have a missile advantage, both in terms of units and in quality. So my allies' Celtic bowmen honestly aren't worth all that much. My Thracian skirmishers aren't worth all that much. So his bows are going to outmatch ours. They have a range advantage too, that's pretty significant. So when it comes to it, we can't really afford to sit and skirmish with them, we have to close the distance. Now looking at this Suebi army, I haven't seen the skirmishers, and I didn't even think that they would have skirmishers that can hide everywhere, because I totally forgot what the Suebi can take. But I'm moving out to engage him, just because I don't want to stay on my ally's flank, which I would normally do. But there's a bit of a downslope here, and I didn't want a bunch of swordmasters charging downhill onto my Falksmen. And as previously stated, I did not want to get skirmished to death by Balearic slingers, which there are 4 units, or 3 units of, and then some skirmishers. So we're just kind of maneuvering for position at the moment. At least I'm maneuvering, and the Suebi are maneuvering. We do have this kind of ridge here, and I was moving my cavalry out to this flank just because I'm losing sight of these cavalry, and I was worried that they were going to get a jump on me. So I'm going to kind of position 2 of these units out here just to make sure I can maintain contact with his cavalry. So now the Arevaci player has already And he was the host. He was the one who called this game up. Barbarians only. No nomads, no Easterns, no Mediterranean factions, whatever. So this was his idea, and he's got a pretty solid, rounded army here. Not a lot of spears, but he has a couple in here somewhere. That up here, Suebi-Arevaci spearmen, and I believe there's a second unit of them also. But he's got these Balearic slingers who have a significant advantage over my skirmishers, so I'm going to have to use my Thracian Royal Cavalry to run them off. You see I've got an attack order on. I don't really expect to make it to them, but if I do, that would be nice. Of course, he is going to intercept with his General's Noble Cavalry, which is absolutely the right move. So as soon as I see them in motion, I'm going to pull my cavalry back. I don't want to get into a cavalry battle this close to enemy lines. Even though these are only swords, not spears, I really don't want them joining that fight. So these Noble Cav, I was kind of hoping they would get overextended and I could counterattack with Thracian Nobles and Thracian Royal Cav, but they're going to get out. And he's starting to deliver missile fire to me, so I'm going to, I believe, run another attack to try to keep these guys driven off. But I want to get the fight started, because I don't want to get skirmished, and I want to knock this guy out and be sitting on the other enemy's flank. So meanwhile, he must have pulled back his swords, worried that I was going to come into his flank, which in retrospect was actually could have been pretty effective if we changed our attack to this guy. My ally could have held him from the front and sent all those cavalry around behind him. Those cavalry are still kind of sitting here hidden, waiting for their chance to strike. So anyway, most of the action is for the foreseeable future is going to be on this flank. See, those four units of longbow hunters have not been revealed. I've run my skirmishers out to try to distract them, and I've split my two lines. So I've pulled out all my Thracian warriors to the right, basically to hold off the cavalry, and I want to use my Thracian nobles to try to knock out these swordmasters, because I have 6 units to his 5, and with a good charge I should be able to beat them up pretty good. So my left wing Royal Cav is already engaging Noble Cav for the Arevaci. There's 3 units locally, which is going to be a problem. So I try to get them out and bring the other 2 units over. And also some of these Noble Riders are coming out to join that fight. So I'm definitely outclassed in this fight. He just has more cavalry. And this is going to be a problem for me. So now I've got a big mass attack order on here. Thracian warriors charging into these swordmasters. Whole bunch of Thracian nobles just slamming into them from the front. And this is a fight that the Thracian nobles, certainly in the short term, are going to have an advantage. Unfortunately, this one unit was left unengaged, so it's going to get a flank on the edge here. And the reason that happened is because this other unit of Thracian nobles got peeled off to help join the cavalry, because I don't see any other way I win this cavalry fight. Perhaps in retrospect they'd been better off staying in the center, because this unit on the flank is going to be a problem. Also, I got a 2-on-1 order here, which was kind of a mistake. That mass attack order worked out almost the way I wanted it to, but not quite. They didn't really match up. So I'm going to try to have this Thracian warrior come and envelop them and hit them with skirmishers and stuff like that. Now, because my cavalry had to peel off to join that cavalry fight, he is getting cavalry behind me. They are being engaged by Thracian Thracian warriors, which is going to damage them. But this rear attack here is going to hurt. You see, I am winning across the whole front line, though. These swordmasters are just beginning to crumble. They used Frenzy, and now they're tired. And my guys used Headhunt, I believe, or not, whatever it is. The one that gives you attack bonus but doesn't tire you out. So they were able to do quite a bit of damage. And if it weren't for these cavalry rear attacks, I'd be clearly winning this infantry fight. So again, more of the other enemies' troops are peeling off. These Balearic slingers were getting some good shots, so I sent my Thracian skirmishers, who were pretty much out of ammo, to engage them. He intercepted them with these lighter Celtiberian cavalry, which is plenty to destroy them. That's one reason it's good to have some light cavalry around for opportunities like that, while the heavy cavalry is all engaged over here. So you see, I destroyed the front line basically, and now I've got this flank more or less under control, and I'm going to try to push down this hill and finish off the remains of these 2 swordmaster units. Now, unfortunately, there's still longbow hunters back here shooting at me, but they're not doing. Actually, some of them have done some decent damage, so that's not something I can ignore. These Thracian nobles got through. I really don't want them fighting skirmishers. I want them in here. But when these Thracian warriors can get through, I can push them over there also and try to drive them off. In the meantime, I think I'm going to take this Royal Cavalry and try to get at them. So you can kind of see I'm really running out of steam here. There's some skirmishing going on the other side, but I'm kind of being left to fight on my own here. Now, let's go back to slow motion. While my men are fighting and dying, struggling in the blood of them and their enemies, I would like to remind everybody that there are 9 units of heavy horse over here that could they could have swept around here, come all the way over, and absolutely smashed everybody I was fighting against. Or at the very least come around behind me to help me engage the enemy cavalry. Yes, my ally ignored me. Do not do that if you are playing a 2-on-2. As now you can clearly see I'm just out of steam. Too many enemies, too many cavalry rear attacks, and that's pretty much going to be it for my troops. My general is the last one fighting, and he's been fighting long enough that he's actually gained 2 experience chevrons. But that is going to be it. So I'm spent, and now my ally is going to be in serious trouble. Now there's not much of the Suebi left. There's this 1 unit of noble riders, and these 2 are pretty badly damaged, and 3 longbow hunters. And that's all he's got left. So if I had been fighting him one-on-one, I'm pretty confident I would have wrecked him. But of course, his ally wasn't going to leave him to fight alone, where my ally did. And he had the tools to help me out. So now, of course, this massed sword attack on massed spears. Veteran spears are reasonably good, but they're not going to hold off against these Scutari. You can clearly see the difference in attack and melee defense. Although these guys in their spear wall have or whatever it is, have a temporary boost to melee defense. It's actually pretty darn good. So, and with all these other troops coming, there's only a matter of time. These cavalry are coming around. They're going to get a good shot at all these Celtic bowmen. And finally, these horses are moved out, although he's still, considering that this was the centerpiece of his strategy, my Boii ally is taking an awful long time getting all these expensive heavy horse into the fight. So you see the Arevaci has his spearmen have now turned around to face that direction to try to hold them off. His remaining cavalry is back here as well. But this infantry fight, even with those couple of Oathsworn mixed in, is just not going to go his way. They're holding reasonably well, but like I said, those horse are taking too long to get into the fight. And now what remains of the Suebi noble riders is getting into his missile troops. So now if those horse had come into the back of this right now, this might have turned into a win. But it's not. There's just too many troops left here. And the problem, yeah, see, look at these guys still just kind of sitting over here, taking their time. Finally in motion. They used all 9 of these units to destroy that 1 unit of skirmishers. Could have easily sent 1 heavy horse to take them out and swung the other 8 around to where they could actually be useful. But they're not going to arrive at the fight until basically the infantry is destroyed. So now again, getting rear charged. So you're going to start to see waivers, and the veteran spears, and even the Oathsworn are going to start to break. And again, mass cavalry charge on a single unit, not really the way to go. You want to maximize your charge, you spread your cavalry unit out kind of wide and rush them in, and you try to, that way you'll knock more guys down and you'll do more damage. And these guys have cavalry counter tactics on too. They're actually pretty decent spears. A 60-point bonus versus large. And even if they didn't, them just holding these guys up, these heavy horse, is going to allow reinforcements to come in, and all the infantry's broken, so now he can just hurl bodies into this fight. So if you're going to take a cavalry heavy army, first of all, use that cavalry to create a mismatch by helping out your ally. And second, be active with your cavalry, because you've paid a lot for it, and if you wait too long to use it, you'll miss your chance. And you see most of these units have routed basically unfought because of army casualties and the presence of so many enemy troops. So that's pretty much the story of the game. It's the cavalry waited too long. So, yeah. So I didn't have that many kills compared to my losses, although it would have been a lot better if those enemy cavalry had been engaged. And even after the battle, the Suebi player, yeah, Arevaci, that's the name. I was right. Score! After the battle, even the Suebi player that I was mainly fighting against admitted that, yeah, his line definitely would have broken if not for the presence of his ally, particularly the allied cavalry that kept all my guys engaged on my noble horse, or noble riders, royal cavalry, whatever the hell they are, some kind of royal thing. So I didn't even notice the berserkers in there. They must have been behind the sword masters. I believe they're pretty good at hiding too. But you see, they didn't do anything. So a couple of these sword masters did pretty good. These are probably the ones who were out fighting against. One of these was probably the one that came around to the rear attack, and the others were probably the ones fighting against my Thracian warriors rather than my Thracian nobles. But still, the infantry body was basically destroyed. And if those cavalry hadn't been able to get into the fight, you see how much damage his cavalry did. And these cavalry were pretty much just fighting, running rear charges, fighting my infantry. If I'd been able to use my horse to keep them out of the fight, this would have gone very differently. But I was unable to do that because these cavalry came over to engage me. So this guy did absolutely the right thing. Sun Tzu did absolutely the right thing by helping keep his ally in the fight. So in any case, thanks to Jackson68 for playing with me, even if he didn't play quite the way I would have liked him to, and a good game to Sun Tzu and Dylan G. Calder. So with that, if you like this video, please like this video, comment, and subscribe. I am Southern Wolverine, and I would like to wish all of you a good day.